Country music legends gave us unforgettable songs, but behind the music were whispers Nashville could never silence. Some rumors sounded too strange to be true. Premonitions of death, secret struggles, near-miss tragedies, and scandals that rewrote careers. Yet, history has proven again and again that the gossip wasn't just talk. In this video, we reveal 10 old country music rumors that were shockingly true, exposing the hidden side of stars who shape one Patsy Cline, the premonition of a tragic flight. Patsy Cline's voice defined an era, smooth, haunting, and filled with emotion that seemed to carry both joy and sorrow in equal measure. But for decades, a chilling rumor surrounded her legacy, that before her untimely death in a 1963 plane crash, she had foreseen the tragedy and warned friends she didn't have long to live. To some, it sounded like a myth created after the fact, a way to romanticize her passing. But those who knew her swore it was true. Fellow artists and close friends later revealed that in the months leading up to her death, Patsy often spoke of a sense of doom. She told her friend Dottie West that she felt her time was short and even gave away personal belongings, saying she wanted others to have them in case something happened. Cline had also survived 2 near-death experiences before the crash, one a serious car accident in 1961 and another a plane scare in Kansas City just weeks before her fatal flight. These brushes with mortality seemed to deepen her conviction that fate was closing in. On March 5, 1963, after performing at a benefit concert in Kansas City, she boarded a small plane with fellow performers Hawkshaw Hawkins and Cowboy Copas. As the rumors foretold, the plane went down in poor weather near Camden, Tennessee. No one survived. The eerie truth confirmed what fans had whispered for years. Patsy Cline had sensed the end before it came. Her premonitions weren't just rumor, they were reality, leaving behind one of the most haunting stories in all of country music. 2. Hank Williams Sr., fired for more than the bottle. Hank Williams Sr. was the original country outlaw, his songs like I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry and Your Cheating Heart shaping the very foundation of the genre. But ever since his shocking death at age 29, a rumor has persisted that the Grand Ole Opry didn't just cut ties with him because of his drinking, but also because of his scandalous personal life and erratic behavior. Fans long debated whether this was exaggerated gossip. After all, Hank's alcoholism and chronic health problems were well documented. But insiders from the Opry confirmed the truth. By 1952, Hank's offstage antics had spiraled so far out of control that management decided he was no longer welcome. It wasn't only the booze. Stories circulated of Hank missing shows, arriving drunk, and embarrassing the Opry with his unpredictability. At the same time, his affairs and stormy divorce from Audrey Williams kept his name in the tabloids, further tarnishing the wholesome image Nashville wanted to project. According to those who worked behind the scenes, the Opry saw him as a liability, not just a sick man, but a scandal waiting to explode. When the Opry quietly dismissed him, Hank's career entered a downward spiral. Though he continued performing in smaller venues, his health declined rapidly, and by January 1st, 1953, he was gone. The rumor was true. The Opry didn't fire Hank solely for his drinking. It was also his chaotic personal life and scandals that Nashville couldn't keep under wraps. In trying to protect its image, the Opry severed ties with the man who had become country's brightest star, and in doing so, helped cement the legend of Hank Williams as both genius and tragedy. 3. Dolly Parton, The Secret Battle with Darkness. Dolly Parton is adored worldwide as the dazzling queen of country, with her big hair, glittering rhinestones, and larger-than-life personality. To millions, she has always seemed unstoppable, a woman of boundless energy and optimism. Yet a long-standing rumor shadowed her legacy, that even Dolly, with all her fame and fortune, once contemplated ending her own life. For years, fans dismissed it as tabloid cruelty. How could Dolly, the woman who wrote 9 to 5 and Jolene, ever fall so low? But in her 1994 autobiography, Dolly, My Life and Other Unfinished Business, she confirmed the rumor was painfully true. In the early 1980s, Dolly suffered a severe personal and professional crisis. Exhausted from relentless touring, struggling with health problems, and burdened by an affair that left her emotionally shattered, she fell into a deep depression. She confessed that one night she sat in her bedroom with a gun nearby, seriously considering suicide. What stopped her was a small, almost miraculous moment. Dolly wrote that her dog Popeye came into the room, nudging her out of the dark spiral. His innocent interruption snapped her back into herself, and she put the gun away. "I always say God sent Popeye to save me," she later recalled. The rumor wasn't just true. It revealed the hidden vulnerability behind one of country's brightest stars. Far from tarnishing her image, Dolly's honesty only deepened fans' respect. She proved that even the most glamorous legends carry heavy burdens, and that survival itself can be the most powerful part of the story. Waylon Jennings, the flight he gave away. Waylon Jennings embodied the outlaw spirit of country music, living life on his own terms with hits like Good-Hearted Woman and Luckin' Back Texas. But one rumor from early in his career cast a chilling shadow that he was supposed to be on the plane that crashed and killed Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper in 1959. At first, fans thought it was just urban legend, but the truth was even darker. Jennings, then a bassist in Buddy Holly's band, had indeed been scheduled to board the doomed flight out of Clear Lake, Iowa. At the last minute, he gave up his seat to J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson, who was sick and needed a faster trip than the freezing tour bus could provide. The plane crashed shortly after takeoff, killing everyone on board. Waylon Jennings was left behind, alive only because of that last-second decision. What made the story more haunting was Holly's final words to Jennings. When Waylon said he was giving up his seat, Holly joked, "Well, I hope your bus freezes up." Jennings replied, "Well, I hope your plane crashes." For the rest of his life, Jennings carried immense guilt over that exchange, though he often spoke of it with somber honesty. The rumor that Jennings had narrowly missed the fatal flight wasn't just true, it became one of the defining traumas of his life. It hardened him, shaping the rebellious, haunted outlaw who later changed country music forever. Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn, a bond beyond friendship. Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn are remembered as two of country music's most iconic women, trailblazers who fought their way into a male-dominated industry. But for years, a rumor has surrounded their relationship, that their bond went far deeper than ordinary friendship. So close that some whispered it bordered on sisterhood, or even something more. At first, fans dismissed this as romanticized gossip. Yet, Loretta herself confirmed in her memoir Coal Miner's Daughter that Patsy was not only her mentor, but her dearest friend during the early years of her career. After meeting in 1961, following Cline's near-fatal car accident, the two became inseparable. Loretta often spent nights at Patsy's home, raided her closet, and leaned on her for advice in both career and marriage. The intensity of their connection fueled speculation. Loretta described Patsy as the first woman in Nashville who truly believed in her, and she often called her the sister I never had. After Patsy's tragic death in 1963, Loretta publicly admitted she never got over the loss. She even recorded an entire tribute album, I Remember Patsy, more than a decade later. While there's no hard evidence that their relationship was romantic, the rumors of their extraordinary closeness were absolutely true. Loretta's own words confirm that theirs was a bond unlike any other in country music, a deep emotional tie that transcended ordinary friendship. For fans, the whispers only add to their legacy. Patsy and Loretta weren't just colleagues. They were soulmates in spirit, bound together until fate tore them apart. 6. Johnny Paycheck, the shot heard in Ohio. Johnny Paycheck was the outlaw's outlaw, best known for his working man anthem, Take This Job and Shove It. But for years, a rumor swirled that his rebellious lifestyle went beyond the stage, that he had actually shot a man in the face during a bar fight and ended up behind bars. To some fans, it sounded like tall outlaw mythology. Paycheck had a reputation for wild living, but could the singer really have crossed that line? The answer was yes. In December 1985, at the North High Lounge in Hillsboro, Ohio, Paycheck got into a heated argument with a local man. Fueled by alcohol and anger, he pulled a .22 caliber pistol and shot the man in the head. Miraculously, the victim survived, though the injury left lasting scars. The shooting quickly made headlines, and the rumors were no longer whispers. They were fact. Paycheck was arrested, convicted of aggravated assault, and sentenced to 9 years in prison. He served nearly 2 years before being paroled in 1991, but the scandal permanently marked his career. Rather than denying the event, Paycheck leaned into his outlaw image. He later admitted that prison humbled him, but fans saw it as proof that his songs about rebellion and desperation weren't just lyrics, they were his life. The rumor that Johnny Paycheck shot a man wasn't just true. It became one of the most notorious incidents in country music history. For better or worse, it cemented his place as a legend who lived every word of the outlaw creed. 7. Chris Christopherson, from Army uniform to janitor's closet. Chris Christopherson is celebrated today as one of country music's greatest songwriters, the mind behind Sunday Morning Comin' Down and Help Me Make It Through the Night. But long before fame, a persistent rumor followed him that he gave up a prestigious military career to work as a janitor in Nashville just to be close to the music business. At first, many dismissed it as exaggerated legend. Christopherson was a Rhodes Scholar, a West Point graduate, and a decorated Army officer with a promising future. Why would a man of such stature mop floors just to chase songs? The truth, however, was exactly that. After leaving the Army in the mid-1960s, Chris moved to Nashville, determined to break into songwriting. To make ends meet and to keep himself physically close to Columbia Records studios, he took a job as a janitor. While scrubbing floors and emptying trash cans, he quietly slipped demo tapes into the hands of producers, hoping someone would listen. One of his most famous gambles was flying a helicopter onto Johnny Cash's property to deliver a demo tape, a move that became part of country music folklore. Cash eventually listened, and the rest was history. Christopherson himself later confirmed the janitor story in interviews, saying he would have done anything to get his songs heard. The rumor wasn't exaggeration. It was the hard, humbling truth of how far he was willing to go for his dream. For fans, it only adds to his legend. Chris Christopherson wasn't handed success. He mopped his way into it, proving that even the most unlikely sacrifices can lead to country immortality. 8. Emmylou Harris, To Rock for Country. Emmylou Harris is now revered as one of country music's most graceful voices, a bridge between traditional country and the progressive sounds of folk and rock. But in her early career, a rumor dogged her that Nashville insiders dismissed her as too rock to ever succeed in country music. At first, it sounded like the usual resistance faced by newcomers. Yet the whispers were true. In the early 1970s, Harris had been singing folk music in Washington, D.C. when Graham Parsons discovered her. Their collaboration leaned heavily on rock influences, blending the Byrds' cosmic sound with honky-tonk roots. To Nashville's conservative establishment, Harris's style seemed foreign, beautiful, but not pure country. Executives reportedly told her she'd never fit in unless she toned down the rock edge. Even after Parsons' tragic death in 1973, when Emmylou struck out on her own, skeptics in Music City questioned whether audiences would accept her. But Harris proved them wrong. Her 1975 album Pieces of the Sky became a critical and commercial success, with her soaring voice transforming songs by the Beatles and Merle Haggard alike. Instead of abandoning her eclectic style, she doubled down, seamlessly weaving rock, folk, and bluegrass into her brand of country. Over the years, Harris's career silenced the rumors completely. With multiple Grammys and Hall of Fame honors, she became proof that To Rock for Country could actually mean ahead of her time. The rumor wasn't false. It was exactly what Nashville believed. But Emmylou Harris turned that skepticism into fuel, reshaping the genre on her own terms. 9. George Strait, The Silence After Tragedy. George Strait, the king of country, built his career on consistency, hit after hit, a clean image, and a reputation as one of the most dependable stars in Nashville. Yet, for years, a rumor persisted that he deliberately withdrew from interviews in the media, avoiding the spotlight for deeply personal reasons. Some assumed it was just his private nature. Strait was never flashy or scandalous, so whispers of a hidden tragedy seemed like unfounded speculation. But the truth was heartbreaking. In 1986, George and his wife Norma lost their 13-year-old daughter Jennifer in a car accident in San Marcos, Texas. The loss devastated him. Those close to Strait confirmed that from that moment on, he chose to drastically reduce public appearances off stage. While he continued to record and tour, he refused most interviews and avoided discussing his personal life. In his own words, talking about the tragedy was simply too painful, and silence became his way of coping. Fans began to notice. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Strait gave few press quotes and offered little more than what he sang in his music. Songs like Baby Blue took on new meaning, widely believed to be his tribute to Jennifer, though he never openly confirmed it. The rumor was true. George Strait's quiet, reserved public image wasn't just a stylistic choice. It was born of grief. His silence was not indifference, but the lasting scar of a loss so deep he could never bring himself to speak of it publicly. 10. Townes Van Zandt, genius in the shadows. Townes Van Zandt never became a household name like Willie or Waylon, but among songwriters, he was revered as a poet of unmatched depth. Songs like Pancho and Lefty and If I Needed You revealed a brilliance that set him apart. Yet a rumor followed him all his life, that behind the beauty of his music, he lived in crushing poverty, battling alcoholism, mental illness, and loneliness until his death. At first, fans hoped it was exaggerated. Surely someone who wrote such masterpieces must have been more stable than the whispers suggested. But those who knew him confirmed the sad truth. Townes often lived in cheap motels or with friends, rarely keeping steady work beyond his music. His struggles with alcohol were legendary, with some shows ending in brilliance and others collapsing into incoherence. He also faced battles with mental health. As a young man, he underwent electroshock therapy that left lasting effects on his memory. Friends said he carried a quiet darkness everywhere he went, a melancholy that seemed to pour directly into his songs. When Townes died on New Year's Day 1997, at just 52, the rumors were no longer whispers. They were the reality of his life. He passed away from health complications worsened by years of heavy drinking, leaving behind a legacy of songs that far outshone the life he lived. The rumor was true. Townes Van Zandt was a genius who lived and died in the margins. His music was rich, timeless, and celebrated, but his life was as fragile and tragic as the ballads he left behind.